Hi, Patrick Cameron, extraordinary integral coach from integralmastery.ca. I want to share with you today some ideas that I think are really important, really impactful. There's a wonderful quote by Anais Nin, and she wrote, "We don't see the world the way it is, we see the world the way we are." Powerful, powerful, powerful. Love that. So insightful. Not the world the way it is, the way we are. In other words, that how we communicate, how we interact with the world, how we see the world, how we perceive the world is really about what's alive within us. What do we hold precious and sacred? We truly are story makers. I mean, have you ever noticed, like, you buy the new car, right? Here's a great example. You buy the new car, and you train it at home, pretty soon you're seeing that car, that model, and sometimes that color, which really sort of, for me, delights me. It's like, wow, somebody else bought the same car. Now, has some force of nature, some infinite cosmic presence planted more of those vehicles in my neighborhood, in my reality, in my life? No. They've always been there, always been running around. But now I see them. Why do I see them? Well, because, you know what? I bought one. I'm in the club now. It's part of my tribe. I couldn't see them the way I see them now until I owned one. Well, the same is true of our lives. The same is true of how we relate to one another and the things that resonate with. All aspects. I mean, perception truly is everything. How we see ourselves. How we see each other. It's one of the reasons that my wife Laura and I have launched into integral coaching. Because integral is a way of looking at those particular capacities that we are currently in so that we can use those as touchstones and foundational pieces to build greater capacity. Just like seeing the car. All of a sudden you see your partner in a new way, and your work in a new way, and your children, or your grandchildren, or your significant other, or if you're coming out of university or college, to be open, to be teachable, reachable, to be able to be touched. There's this wonderful article by Rachel Naomi Remen. It's called Helping, Fixing, or Serving. Now, this idea of helping, fixing, or serving, each one of those things requires a unique capacity. And I'm going to talk about that a little bit. What Naomi Remen talks about in this, she says, when you help, you see life as weak. Now, there's a tendency to do that. Now, and it can be with the best of intentions, but when you help, you see life as weak, or you see another as weak. And when you fix, you see life as broken. Now, nothing wrong with either one of these, but when we up-level our game with a new vision, we move into service. And when we serve, we see life as whole. We see one another as whole. Fixing and helping, in other words, can be the work and the activity of the egoic nature, our egos, our personality. And service is quite another thing, because it is the work of our souls. Now, I've lived a lifetime, and I know many of you have, a lifetime of being a fixer and a helper. It's the predominant way of being for so many people. True service is selfless. By selfless, I mean it's without attachment. It's not looking for something in return. It's not looking for recognition even. We serve because it is our soul's inherent nature to serve. There's something that moves through us. We become an outlet. We become a portal for love, for compassion, for caring. Service rests on the premise that the nature of our lives is sacred. That life is a holy mystery. And from the perspective of service, we're all connected. And then our worldview becomes all suffering is my suffering. And all joy is my joy. And that takes capacity building. Especially to look at the suffering of the world and witness it and not spin into it and not spin into despair and such deep sadness and depression. So the impulse to serve emerges naturally and inevitably from this way of seeing, from this way of being, from this deep connection. Helping and fixing are driven by the transactional perspective. The wholeness in us serves the wholeness in others. Now there's a beautiful idea. The wholeness in us serves the wholeness in others and the wholeness in life. And it is the nature of the divine. It is one of wholeness. If you're not comfortable with the word God, use wholeness. Service is a relationship between equals. It takes out the competition and the comparison. Fixing and helping, they train us. And over time, what happens is we get burned out. What if we all started to grow into this capacity to serve because it is serving the wholeness in you, and you were serving the wholeness in me? So when we help, we find a sense of satisfaction. In serving, we awaken to gratitude. As long as we interact in a dependent way with one another, in a transactional way, I'll give you this, you give me that, we'll continue to keep ourselves from the holding mystery, from the non-linear, non-dual experience of life. And if you see yourself in areas of your life where you've been the helper or been helped, or that's become the relationship, or you're fixing others, or needing fixing, it's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. That is called the human condition. We all pass through this. It is part of the developmental stage of develop into an integral, whole human being. And you need those capacities. Now it's time to up-level those capacities into something that's much more powerful and potent. And so it starts in small ways, to begin to notice, to noticing a piece at a time, noticing and noticing and noticing. Once we start noticing that tendency, that pattern, that habit, it is such a glorious moment where awareness starts to awaken. And the door opens up to new possibility. If you'd like to know more, if you have a question or you feel called to reach out, I can be reached directly at my email, patrickcameronintegral@gmail.com. Thank you for spending this time with me.